As the group reaches Kevin's home, he is met by his mother, who is angrily awaiting her son's return, holding a switch in her hand. No sooner than they reach the foot of the porch, she erupts. "Boy, what you done now? You been messing up in school, ain't you?" No sooner than they reach the top steps, she snatches Kevin by the collar and begins to deliver rapid strikes from the rapier-like switch. Kevin yelps and howls. "Wait a minute now, ma'am." Pastor Jackson grips the angry mother's punishing arm. "There is no call for that," the pastor loudly exclaims. His authoritative voice causes the woman to halt. "Yes, don't hurt the boy. He ain't been himself today." The widow's declaration aids in pacifying Kevin's mother. His mother moved. Her mood changes from vengeful anger to that of conciliatory compassion. "Mama, sorry, baby." She tightly gripped Kevin, holding him in her arms, whereupon Kevin releases his pent-up anxiety, weeping bitterly. Kevin's mother is deeply ashamed at her earlier display. Patting the young man on the back, she guides him into the home with words of, Now, baby. Mama didn't mean nothing. You just come on in here and lay yourself down." His little sisters stop their customary commotion and stand staring in bewildered silence. Kevin's mother escorts her son into the bedroom where his cries slowly reduce to whimpers. As his mother closes his bedroom door behind her, his little sister Trina turns to the other girls whose faces reflect their concern, and, with the click of her tongue, she loudly announces her disappointment. "Dang, I wanted to see a whipping." Her words causes young Perkins to glare at her callousness. Staring back, she turns her head, and responds to his condemning gaze with a simple, "What? Hush your mouth." The widow angrily snaps. The young girl responds to her chastisement by making a face. Her disrespectful gesture calls the widow into action, who rushes toward the young girl. "You little..." She attempts to grab the child, who rushes into the back room. The sound of the door slamming reverberates throughout the house. The children begin giggling. "Hush up," the widow commands. With their leader absent, the young hellions retreat, running into the back bedroom where the sound of tiny hands banging on the door causes Trina to open it, allowing her little minions to escape into the relative safety of the room. The commotion brings Kevin's mother from the room. "What's all this ruckus?" Looking around, she finds the young children missing. "Where my babies?" The young widow begins to answer, but is cut off by young Perkins, who remarks with a wry smile, "Ma'am, I guess when they got to playing, they must have figured they was maybe bothering us. They probably just took themselves into the back room to play." With a smile of relief, Kevin's mother expresses her pleasure. "Them good babies. I don't know why folks always saying the contrary. The back room, you say? Them babies didn't want to disturb y'all. Ain't that just like my baby, Trina, always thinking about others?" Kevin's mother nervously begins wiping her hands with her apron. Looking about nervously, she gives an embarrassed smile and reminds, "Well, I reckon it's about time for me to get supper ready. Is y'all gonna stay?" The look of embarrassment reflected the shame of her earlier behavior called for the three to decline. "Thank you, ma'am. That's mighty kind. But I got to see to it Miss Hazel and the boy here get back home 'fore dark." Pastor Jackson's kind explanation allows the three to leave on a cordial note. As they depart, Miss Hazel presents Kevin's mother with a loving hug and a few compassionate words of conciliation. As they proceed in the direction of the widow's home, Pastor Jackson plies young Perkins with several questions concerning Kevin's strange behavior, all of which are met with evasion. All during the pastor's inquiries, the widow Hazel remained unusually silent. Somewhere deep down, she knew that the mysterious Mr. Pickman was the cause. He was the true heart of the matter. Her wisdom told her that, in time, young Perkins would reveal to her that which he had denied the pastor. Once more a bath was drawn. Once more the soothing warmth of relaxing water reduced tense muscles to soft, melting butter. And once more, a young man slept surrounded by the watchful gaze of 1,000 friendly eyes. The sleep of peace was shattered by the widow's frightened voice, calling, calling, calling for his ears to awaken his eyes. Rousing from the realm of dreams, young Perkins at first fails to realize that he is no longer asleep. The widow's fervent cries of distress instantly sends young Perkins into action. Throwing back the covers, he quickly opens the door. Rushing through the hallway, he briefly stops at the widow's closed door. Listening for a moment, he begins knocking at the door. Miss Hazel, Miss Hazel. With a growing sense of unease, receiving no answer, young Perkins opens the unlocked door and enters. His eyes find the widow asleep. She isn't calling for young Perkins. She is trapped in the midst of a dream, or she is trapped in the midst of a nightmare. Her words fervently call the name of her deceased husband. The young man sits at the side of the widow's bed. Miss Hazel, he calls, clasping her shoulder. Miss Hazel, wake up. Whereupon the widow wakes with a start. Oh, my dear God. The widow sits up in bed, both hands clasped tightly around young Perkins. Her head rests on his shoulder. Thank God, it's you, little man. I was having the worst dream. What was it, ma'am? Young Perkins nervously voicing his concern. The widow raises her head from the young man's shoulder and turned and gazed at the window with a far-off look in her eyes. She described her dream. Well, it was like this. I dreamed I was right here, laying right in this bed, and I heard my dear husband's voice calling, calling. I rose and I went out of the door, all the while his voice calling. I followed the sound until it led me to the cemetery, not the church cemetery, mind you. The voice led me to the potter's field, right to where he was buried. Lord, I wish he had been baptized. I heard his voice from down deep down in the earth. He was alive inside his coffin calling for me. I started digging. I started digging in the ground with my bare hands. With my bare hands, I was digging him up. As I was digging, I noticed my hands bleeding. The more they bled, the faster I dug. As I was digging, getting closer to his coffin, the sound of his screaming began to get louder. When I got right down to the wood, I noticed my hands were different. They weren't my normal hands, they were claws. My whole body had changed. I was something not human. I was something from hell. My body was covered with scales and matted fur like a wild animal. I was something, I don't know, God help me. All I know is I was hungry. I was starving. Then because I hungered, I ripped open the wood of the casket where my husband lay. Oh, my God, my God. There he was, alive and staring, and there I was over him, looking down. It was me. But it wasn't the me I am now. I was something else. And being that something else, I had no cause to heed his cries. I dug into him, into his belly. I can still remember the taste of his flesh, the sickening sweet, metallic taste of his blood, his bowels. Lord Jesus, she moans with a shudder. All the while I was doing this, there was that Mr. Pickman, standing right above me, stroking my head. Young Perkins recognizes the nature of the widow's dream. None of her husbands had been baptized. One of them indeed did lay in the unhallowed ground of the potter's field, there to rot among the graves of the forgotten dead. How could anyone's soul find peace beneath the mournful shade of those accursed willows? She was reliving the night before. How could she know? She was there at the church. Did Kevin tell? No, he wouldn't tell. He wouldn't tell anyone what we saw. He knew no one would believe us if we even tried to describe what chased us that god-awful night. Nevertheless, the widow saw, even if but through a dream she saw. The sound of something brushing against the home, against the bushes, sends a wave of fear rushing over the two. The young widow attempts to rise to ascertain the nature of the sound. She is suddenly halted by young Perkins, who holds her fast. "Wait," he implores. His eyes beg her to remain in place. The beast-like growls threaten entry. The sound of jagged claws drag along the home's wooden frame. The young widow forcefully removes young Perkins' arm from around her. Rising from her bed, she boldly walks across the room. Opening the top drawer of the dresser, she withdraws a heavy, long-barreled blue steel old-fashioned .45 caliber peacemaker. Holding the heavy iron with both hands, she states, "We'll see about this." The widow cocks the hammer back to half-cocked. Straining a bit, she continues to pull until the hammer clicks to full cocked, using the force of both thumbs to do so. The nauseating stench once more rises, reminding young Perkins of the night he and Kevin fled from the creature, how the foul odor built with its approach. "You smell that?" the widow questions. Her face grimaces as the odor begins to permeate the entire home. From beneath her bedroom window, a figure emerges ever so briefly. Its distorted silhouette reflected nothing human. A thunderous explosion shakes the room as the widow fires. The concussion of the blast deafening the two, their ears ringing. They must shout to understand each other. Her aim must have been true. For the bullet, although shattering the window, must have struck the creature as howls of unearthly pain pierced the night. Whoever, or whatever it was, had been wounded, struck by the bite of .45 caliber ball. "You got it," the young man shouts through ringing ears. The young widow gives no reply. She again pulls the hammer of the revolver all the way back to half, then full cocked, all the while keeping her gaze fixed on the window that was now shattered by the bullet. The howling echoes into the distance, and, with its retreat, so follows the horrendous odor. They were safe for tonight. "Come tomorrow," exclaims the widow. "I'm going down to the sheriff's office and report this." "No, Miss Hazel," young Perkins cautioned. "Let's tell Pastor Jackson first." The young man knowing all the while the thing that assaulted their home that night, though mortal, possessed no origin of humanity.